Hey there! Today we will discuss the digital self to help us understand who we are in the cyber world. This discussion is very relevant as we've seen how important the internet is. I'm even teaching you online. So, what is the digital self? It is simply the persona we use online. In the readings, this is described as a mask we put on to draw the innovative world. Let's find out why. Remember these points about your sense of self or how you perceive yourself. First, your sense of self can be extended. Next is that the possession or accumulation of own things allows us to enlarge our sense of self. And lastly, the only way we can know who we are is by observing what we have. So, this concept may be new to you, but there is actually a process of self extension online. When we say self extension, it means that your concept of self can be extended outside the body. Online, this happens through the content you create on social media, the profiles you have on websites or in gaming sites. These are a few examples of the things that add up online to build your online self. So, Belk introduced five digital dimensions of the extended self. These are the materialization, re embodiment, sharing, co construction of self, and distributed memory. Let's start with dematerialization. This means that our possessions before are now virtual, given that we can store media online or digitally, so we no longer have physical print copies or storage for our media. Next, we have re embodiment. This is how we can represent ourselves through avatars and even edit our visual self through Photoshop. Now we have sharing. As you all know, it's easy for us to share information online, and through this sharing, we reveal parts of ourselves. But remember, there should be a balance of what we share and what we should keep private. Co construction of self. Since Belk observed that most of the reason behind us being online is to replicate our social interactions in the digital space, this allows the co construction of self, which means that we are collaborative with the other social beings online. And lastly, we have distributed memory. So Belk said that the non digital objects that form a part of our extended self are often able to provide a sense of past, or we have a timeline online. This includes photographs, videos, stories, or all your memories in the digital world that can be recorded and archived to view later. So an example of this would be Facebook memories. So the things you have posted, the things you did throughout the month, they create a recap for you or even give you the memories for the past years. So that is an example of distributed memory. So, in the online world, we still experience the need to impress other people and create a favorable impression. Thus, selective presentation happens. So, what is selective presentation? It is the behavior that attempts to convey some information about oneself or some image of oneself to other people. We regulate our behavior online to fit in. For example, in social media, we try to understand what content matters to our audience or what content gains more likes or reactions. Thus, we are selective of what we share and we try to hit our internal targets. We also check the notifications if we get more likes. There are actually two types of self presentation. The first one is pleasing the audience. This is when you try to match yourself to the audience's expectations and preferences. And the second one is self construction. This is when you try to match your own ideal self. So, what is the ideal self? The ideal self belongs to the multiple aspects of the self. These aspects are actual, ideal, and ought self. The actual self refers to the attributes an individual already possesses, while the ideal self refers to the attributes an individual would like to possess. would ideally want to possess, and the ought self refers to the attributes an individual ought to possess. So it is meant to be possessed by an individual based on the social factors. So, to summarize our lecture, what is the impact of online interaction on the self? The impact is that we have an online persona and that we can compare our construction of identity in the real world versus the online world. And even though the line between the offline and online self has become blurred, given that we have become more digitally dependent, remember that you have the power to choose how technology will impact your life by choosing what you will use and how you will use it. So I'll just leave a few reminders for you. So online, please stick to safer sites. Secondly, guard your passwords or create strong passwords. Third, limit what you share. Fourth, report if you feel unsafe online. And fifth, be careful with people you befriend online. And lastly, forever is possible online. So whatever you post online, even when you try to delete it, it will still be kept there, or you wouldn't have a limit to who could have created a copy of what you have shared online. So that's it. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this lecture.